What's up, everyone? How are we doing? Liam, you and I feel like we need haircuts here. I've got a lot coming
Yeah.
out of here. It's bad. It is like I got a little bit of hat hair, but it's getting big. So I think a haircut is next on my list
Yeah.
of things that I need to do.
I'm
Well, we got
looking
some.
slick for Katowice.
You're gonna need it, man. You're gonna need it. You gotta look good,
Always a
especially.
line haircut, yeah.
That's how I feel. All right, so we've got some breaking news, obviously, that we just reported that we'll try and get to in a hot second. First, we need to just marinate, let viewers come in as we're obviously live. This is fantastic. So how have you been doing this last week? I mean, it's been an interesting week. A lot of announcements, a lot of coaching shuffles. What have you thought so far?
Not too bad. We had our good friend and last guest on the podcast officially announced, even though we had to carefully play around the subject, even though we were the ones who reported he was going there last week. But
Yeah.
I think I think it's a great move for Shake. I'm glad that he's underneath an org now. Like he
Yeah.
deserved it for so long. I wish he was still playing, honestly, because I think
Oh no, yeah, me too.
he's probably the best chance that we have of building up a team. Like think of all the players that have come through under him. But I guess he's is it just the main team actually that he's working with, or is it just across the board?
So it said that the tweet said that he was working with the main team. So as an assistant coach. So I guess he's just going to be for the main team. I wouldn't be surprised if he also like dabbles with EG White or EG Black from point to point. Like I imagine he's probably going to help out Axe, who's a coach, or he's probably going to learn more about coaching from those guys and learn about how to do it or everything else. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It should be good to see. So that's been there. We've had Tacitus get announced officially by MIBR. We had Zach get officially announced by Imperial. So a lot of coaching changes have been going on, which I thought has been really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think Imperial kind of look a lot more legit now with the recent changes that they've had with Akam and JOTA that we're going to get to later on. Like,
yeah,
look a lot more like a capable roster than initially the Last Dance was.
Oh man, I mean, the Last Dance was just a tough. That was tough. And I think that we're going to be having to see how this new roster forms. Fallen is obviously probably in his last year. This is probably it, and so we'll see what happens there. All right, let's get to the first topic here, which obviously is the cooler one. So k0nfig and Blast. So for those that haven't read the article, first of all, go read it. I know we just posted it. I know it's not been that fast, but we'll break it down here, which is basically FaZe. Rain is having a child. So first off, foremost, congrats to Rain. Like shout out him. Very excited for him. Hope he has a lovely, child. Hope everything goes well. And I wish him the best. As a replacement, k0nfig has apparently been in the works for a hot minute, and they've wanted him there, and it makes sense, right? He's a free agent rifler. He's gonna just stand in for Rain there. I mean, IEM Katowice is coming up, so we have to imagine that he's probably going to be there as well. Like if Rain is taking the time now, right? He's gonna want his own time to do that. So we're gonna have that. With that, the problem has been he was registered when the article, when all the stuff came out. I can't remember. I think it must have been a week or so ago about who was registered as who on rosters, right? When we were like, oh, EG has George and Wiz and Viz all registered for their Blast team. Heroic put k0nfig. And
makes sense.
FaZe Clan put Olafmeister, right? Like Olaf is still outside of the org. It just made sense. I guess at this time, no one understood, but like Rain was submitted on the starting roster. So unclear what the issue was there. So that all happens. And then what goes on in the last 24 hours has been k0nfig has just kind of shown up. And like they told Blast that they wanted him. And Blast, I guess, was like, I don't understand. And he's not listed as your sub. He's heroic sub. And now k0nfig is practicing with FaZe. And he's been in the prac room. He's been spotted around the area. And everyone's just kind of like, why? What's happening here? What does this mean? Because he's not a sub. He's just not a sub. And the rules clearly state only your subs can play. So the solution that Blast is currently grappling with here is that FaZe are not prepared to play with Olaf Meister. And Olaf Meister, as far as I understand it, is not prepared to play. Like, it's going to be k0nfig. That's what the whole team has decided. So now Blast has to come with this decision of, are we going to allow the rule of having a sub be broken? Because our hand is almost being forced. Because k0nfig is literally here. And I guess this is just going to be the situation. Like, it seems unclear. And that's the problem that's happening. Now, internally, Blast is having a discussion of whether or not they're going to use him. They go ahead and they haven't made a decision. Some are saying they want to. Some are saying, don't. We have to follow the rules. They have not been able to give a response yet to other teams that have inquired about this, some of who are very angry, others who are just like, this is a violation of the rule, and on principle, this shouldn't happen, which seems to be the most measured response. And yeah, they just haven't come to a decision. They're still debating on what's happening. So that's kind of the deal, which is somewhat complicated. So Liam, as you've been also finding out this information through our Discord, as I've been talking to 20 other people, how do you feel about this situation? Then we can talk about what it means for NA.
Absolute fucking joke if they let him play for FaZe. That is a joke if they let him play. Like, okay, Blast announced the calendar officially, like a week ago? I'd imagine teams have been informed of these dates long before. The reason that Rain is out is that his wife's having a baby. Obviously, great for him. A baby isn't something that just creeps up. That's like, he's probably informed that team months ago of like due dates and like when he's going to need time off and stuff. And that's the thing I don't get is if he's informed the team, like, okay, my wife is due around this time, why are they listing Olaf as the sub if they're not going to use him and they know that they're going to need a sub around that time? That's the part I don't get. Why are you trying to twist it now after you've already put the roster lock in?
It's confusing. It reeks, unfortunately, of mismanagement of the team, right? On a very functional level. Like, you cannot, if you're supposed to be one of the best teams in the world. How are you having this level of mismanagement where you don't have this? And Robin is not going to be there. So I'm hoping that Innershine is going to be there, but Innershine also wasn't listed on a thing. So maybe he will show up. Like, it's just so confusing how this team is. They came off of a slump at the end of last year. They started brilliantly. They're still in line for IGS, and they're coming in to their first event of the year, and they're already stumbling out of the blocks. And for a player like Twist, NA tie-in, like, this is not fair to him. It's not fair to him to be part of one of the best teams in the world and to have to play almost like a man, like literally like a leg down. They're playing hurt, essentially.
It comes across very much like what you were saying there about k0nfig being there practicing with FaZe, saying we're playing with k0nfig whether you like it or not. It comes across very much like we're a partner team. You're not going to kick us out. Just like, do you remember Blast had the whole issue of Vitality or whoever? What was the team that was watching the streams? And like, they should have been disqualified if they're watching. Like,
it was the issue with MIBR and Vitality. There were the other people in the area, and they also had screens going on. Yes,
they should have been like disqualified or reprimanded. And Blast just said, "Yikes!"
Like, weren't they? I thought they were. I thought they were fined at least.
I think ESIC fined them. I don't even think it was Blast. I think it was because the people I think Blast weren't going to do anything initially. Then there was such outcry, and then ESIC got involved, and then that's what it was, I believe. Like, this is a while ago. This is during COVID, but like,
yeah.
I just remember Blast not handling that very well either. So that's what it kind of comes across as, like, hey, we're a partner team. We can kind of do what we want. Like, what are you going to do? Stop us? Disqualify us?
Yeah. And I mean, it's the and the weird thing is, right, is that, like, now look, we can go with the idea that this is all to blame on FaZe. FaZe are just showing up cocky. The other weird concept here is that, how does Blast not know? Blast had to know. Blast literally had to know that this was going to happen, right? Like, they just had to, because they have to get who's coming as part of the team. They're giving hotels. They're doing all this stuff. I would be shocked if Blast just looked at the, like, right, because of the travel accommodations. So did k0nfig just show up and it was like, I'm just going to room with, like, Twist and I are just going to hang out in the same hotel room. I don't think that's what's happening. I think Blast has known, but for some reason, as of right now, there are discussions within Blast as to whether or not to allow k0nfig to play. And that's the problem. You cannot be doing this at this point. How do you even let this happen to this point? If you knew a week ago that this was going on, you needed to make a decision a week ago. And I fear that Blast allowed it, was maybe hoping this was flying under the radar, and now all of a sudden it's just like whatever. So it just is all confusing. Now, the only other thing I will say is that we know that he's Danish, so maybe he's like living at home and he's just taking the bus. He's hopping on the tram and he's headed to the arena each morning. Just showing up.
I'm sure k0nfig, after being in tier 1 for this much time, surely he has a car.
k0nfig's hopping on the bus, just going to work every morning.
Maybe k0nfig carpooled with him.
k0nfig and k0nfig catching the bus together to go to the arena to go play. They got the backpacks and mice in their backpack. I fucking look. Like it just, all of it would seem weird, right? All of it just seems weird. And it's somehow, all of this reeks of either mismanagement or miscommunication that we look at. Now, we don't have obviously perfect information over the situation. We're hearing this from people that are there. Obviously, people are keeping it close to the chest. But this is the situation that we understand. And it's wild. It's a wild situation. Now let us now talk about the NA ramifications, right? So they're in the same group. FaZe plays Complexity. OG plays Liquid. If this was, and I know you're a FaZe fan, if this is FaZe with Olaf Meister playing Complexity, how do we feel?
I don't know what Complexity is. It going to be ESL Pro League Complexity that we saw a flash in the pan of, or is it going to be Oramor and Elisa coming last place, or like Elisa not making it out of group and struggling to win like NA Cash Cups with Holzer on like 100 ping? Like which Complexity comes into this? That's the thing, is like I hate doing predictions for the start of the season because I don't know who's coming back after player break. Like, we've already seen NA teams come back after player breaks, off Liquid in 2019, but I don't know what Complexity is going to show up. If Complexity have like built on their playbook, if they come back in with a bit of form, I reckon they can beat an Olaf Meister FaZe. Because like I don't know, like Olaf Meister at the end of FaZe when he was still playing rather consistently was not good. Olaf Meister after not playing for ages and having this sprung on him, even worse, surely.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be weird. Now with k0nfig, obviously, like I still would kind of favor FaZe in this situation. k0nfig is a player that has something to constantly prove. He's had it since he got kicked out of Astralis because of his attitude issues, and he did relatively fine with Heroic at the World Premiere. Unfortunately, they didn't win a single game. They would go out in last place. He still did fine. He had like a 1.11 rating. He had a 1.21 impact, which was very good. His cast was like lower at 68%, but like he's coming in stronger with these levels. Now say that FaZe beats Complexity, and I think that we are all very comfortable to say that Liquid beats OG. Now it again is going to be a Liquid FaZe, and that one honestly, if it was Rain, I might put FaZe as a head in there, but even with k0nfig, I put it behind. I don't think it's going to affect Liquid that much. I actually think it benefits Liquid to have a sub.
Yeah. I don't know. I think even with Rain, I put that as a tight match with Liquid because, like I said, you don't know who's going to be coming back after the player break. So, like, do we come back with Elige as like he's feeling more comfortable in those roles that kind of got not really sprung on him, but like he got pushed out of his roles for Ykinder. Like, obviously, when you bring in a new player like Ykinder, when he's at that level, you want him to be comfortable in his roles. But like, if Elige can adapt a bit more, like that's a serious 1-2 combo, and having the time off over the player break, then you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's with Olaf, I think it would batter them, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if Olaf has to somehow come in and go play for FaZe, like then I just see Complexity winning as well. I see it's going to be a Complexity Liquid battle for that final, which would be hilarious.
Yeah.
You're going out. You're going out. Watch that mic. I know we got to get you a new headset, a new system up there.
Is it okay?
Yeah, now we're okay. You're coming back on us.
Yeah, I was saying you're gonna go crazy for that game if it's Complexity versus Liquid final.
I'm going to be so happy. I'm not going to give a fuck, dude. I'm going to be like, go Complexity, win it. Liquid, you should throw it for your NA compatriot. Liquid, go to that bottom consolidation final to try and get into the top 6. That one, I feel, is going to be the best one that they could do in order to get 2 NA teams in. I mean, we already look at it. It's going to be difficult. And I know now we're talking about the Blast Spring groups, but it's just like these are that group with OG, and now the config edition kind of changes that group a little bit. I think for Complexity, it might not do so much change. I think that they may have a little bit to play with there because they might have a little bit more chances because of the sub situation, but it's still going to be very challenging for them. For Liquid, I only see them benefiting. The team didn't make a roster change this offseason. Like, first time in what feels like forever, Liquid haven't made a roster change. Like, I remember last year, I was in Boston trying to run, like, on a family vacation, trying to run down, like, who is going to be Liquid? Who is going to be EG? What the hell is happening? It was like, Nap is not resigning. He's going to EG. Never mind. Now he's coming. He's staying through it. And, like, the year before that, it was, Fallen is coming to Liquid. Still. And now it's just like, okay, thank God. I can breathe.
We came so close to like no NA changes, but then Cirque obviously.
Yeah, you know what? But and we'll also get to that one. We talked a little bit about it, but like, and Vorborg put out an interview today, which obviously we're going to repost a little bit. But I don't know. I think it might be the right move. The team seems to be excited about him. They didn't seem that there was any EU player that was going to be good. So, all right. So let's now talking about EG. Let's talk about EG's chances here. They've got a tough matchup that I think I am watching tomorrow morning. So they've got to play Heroic. That's going to be a tough one. I'm not excited about the Heroic game. I'm going to be sad.
At least you're going to have a very quick recap if you're the one writing.
Listen, it might be a 2-0. It might not be. We don't know.
I think it's very much a 2-0. It's a matter of how close there is one of the maps, maybe. I feel like, I don't know. This Heroic team coming into the new season, I feel like they're going to be very good with the way that they were performing towards the end of last year, like Blastfall finals and a major final in like the last 2 months. Like, they also seem like a kind of organized team that would have their shit together over a player break. Existing coach like k0nfig is a very organized IGL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fun one for EG, especially Wiz's debut at Tier 1.
That's going to be tough. I think but here's what benefits Wiz, honestly. It's a LAN debut, but I don't think there's a crowd, right?
No.
Right, perfect.
There's still the LAN environment, and it's Heroic.
Perfect. No crowd Wiz is going to be great. For his first experience in like a major environment playing against the world's best team, like, first of all, that is fucking tough. Imagine your debut on your call-up is to play the world's best team. Like, get fucked. That sucks.
The only way it can get worse is if there's a crowd. That's literally the only way it gets worse.
Because every op shot that Wiz would inevitably miss, like, because he's gonna obviously miss at least one, which rare, I know. But you'd hear the boos, you'd hear the and he'd immediately like just it's tough. It's tough. The kid is young. It's how old? I think he's like 21 years old. I'm trying to pull it up on
he's 21.
TV. He's 21.
Well,
21 years old.
He's going from playing the likes of like Strife and Detonate, which I'm not knocking them, but like when you're going up against Heroic,
I would knock them if I was on a pro team. Like,
you're playing against Heroic, like definitely the best Danish team, but Dane's notoriously so organized and so put together. Like, he's going from playing every angle. He's going to be getting one tap.
He's literally going from playing fucking Flom and the streamer crew into like, hi, here's k0nfig. You miss peak once, you're fucking dead. Like, it's not even like he's going to get punished for everything. And I think we need to really set expectations low here because it's going to be different. And he doesn't have a lot of practice at the top level. And I think people are going to get really harsh really fast because I think there's an anti-EG sentiment for no other fucking reason that they signed 3 teams. People hate EG for no reason. They hate EG for no reason, no logical reason. Seriously, I never understand this. They're like, we have high aspirations. We're trying to do the most. Oh, we're not succeeding. We're failing. And then people are like, feel the need to just mercilessly harass these like kids for no fucking reason. It annoys me.
Yeah. I also think that there's just like being an NA player is probably one of those positions that like it's not fun to be in anyways in the community. Like people already shit on NACS so much. So if you come in as like a new player, like they're just gonna batter you straight away. Like I know Junior's form was poor, but like probably the most bashed on player in the community during his time of complexity towards the end. Like he just became the stereotypical like we're gonna bash on this player so much. So that's what I'm worried about for Wiz. Is like he's gonna have to need to keep his head held high. Like it's going to be a rough start.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And listen, he's not going to perform well. That's fine. And listen, if he performs amazing, great. I see if he goes positive, if he has a HLTV rating that's 1.0 or above, I'm calling it a success. Seriously.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't see EG winning against Heroic. I don't think any of us can be like too crazy to say that. And I don't see them beating either one of Vitality or Astralis. It's just not it's genuinely just not reasonable to assume that.
Oh,
It's not at this point for this.
I would love to see Wiz style on device. That would be. It's not halfway, but that would be.
Listen, would it be infinitely funny for Evil Geniuses to beat Astralis, the team that played Cash Cups in order to qualify for IEM Katowice, over Astralis in the world rankings, just to see Wiz out off device? It would be incredibly funny. Now, the other thing is, I genuinely think Astralis actually runs away with this group. I think it's going to be a Vitality EG in the bottom. I think Astralis with device on LAN. I believe in the guy.
I don't rate the Buzz pickup. I think Buzz is going to be in a similar position to Wiz. Where I think Wiz is a better pickup than Buzz is. Like for like Buzz coming in from tier 2, like a complete like like it wasn't even like he was like one of these talents where they're like, oh my god, he's been absolutely tearing it up at ECL level. He's been tearing it up in the academy leagues. Like some of the other players that have been picked up, it's just oh yeah, he just was there on like a lower Danish team and he was like fine, like no big deal. I don't think that was the kind of player that like if Astralis want to be relevant, I don't think that was the pickup for them. I think they should have given Sprout the money for Stair. I think if you want to be a relevant team, if you want to go back to being the best Danish team, you want to go back to being the best team in the world.
I think they tried.
Like Stair, who does buzzer
I think they tried, and I think Stair was like, "I want to stay away from that organization."
I don't think. I think it's for a lot of like Danish players, it's got to be like Astralis and Heroic are the two big names. Like even if they're not in the best place, I can be the one that brings them back and just give them the money to do it. Like I don't know.
You know,
I don't rate the Buzz pickup. I think he might be one of the lowest.
I don't think it's so bad as you do think. I also think that there might be money issues to speak there with. I think Stair might be locked into a contract with Sprout, and I think that's probably keeping him in there for a long time. I don't think that Sprout necessarily want to see him go, especially now that they're having a squad that seem to do relatively okay at the major, and you know they could do things to progress further. Like you just don't know. You literally just don't know. And I think that might be that there. Give me your predictions to win each group.
Win each group.
Yes. Group A, which has Heroic, EG, Vitality, and Astralis. Group B with FaZe, Complexity, Liquid, OG. And Group C with G2, Big, Navi, and Nip. Who has Hedrick?
Hedrick versus Navi in the first.
It's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. It's a little funny.
I think Heroic to win Group A.
That's fair.
It depends what happens with the FaZe thing. If Blast crumble and do let them use config, maybe. If it's FaZe with Olaf, I think Liquid actually do win the group. And I still think Navi probably win Group C realistically.
Interesting.
Like I still think that they're a good team. Like I think Nipple obviously isn't like fully settled yet.
Sorry.
I'm not calling them MPL.
I can't do it, dude.
It's Nipple, bro. No,
I'm literally 5 years old. I don't even know why I'm talking over here.
Like he joined the mid season for SDY, who was SDY kind of seemed a bit scapegoated towards the end of that Navi.
Absolutely, was scapegoated.
There was lots of clips of like Simple and everyone just bashing him. It's like
apparently Simple like was a big supporter of him.
But like it was like the kind of thing when you remember the clip of Dewey like screaming at Fallen at Blast. It was kind of like that. Like he was like screaming at him. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" It's like leave alone. He's your teammate, man. But no, if NPL can do, I know I'm calling him Nipple. If Nipple can become like this, like he's a young kid, he's got Blade as well, which is a massive thing. Like Blade has got such a great mind for the game. He
Yeah.
clearly helps people settle into their roles. Like Electronic has settled a bit as an IGL now,
Yeah.
but yeah, I still think there's enough talent in that team to win the group.
All right, yeah. So I was going with Heroic, Liquid, and I think I posted on Twitter earlier this morning, so I might have changed. I also might just be forgetting who exactly I said. So let me go back. I said Navi, so Heroic, Liquid, Navi, and I also said Astralis, FaZe, and G2 to advance because this top 6 advance to finals.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that seems fair. All right,
No,
let's move
actually,
on.
no. I put Vitality over Astralis. That's fine.
Ugh. All right, fair enough. Let's move on to conference because it's beginning tonight at 9 o'clock, which I am staying up for, which is shocking considering my bedtime is 9:30. Listen, it's been actually. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so a little break here, a little entertainment. I've been working out in terms of like just at home workouts, not like big pumping, just like trying to get the body moving again. Because listen, it's been a while since I actually hit the gym. Anyways, go ahead, start to do it. All of a sudden, I'm falling asleep at 9. I'm waking up at 8. I'm getting like 11 hours of sleep. I am a sleep champion now. It's phenomenal. And these things, I'm drinking like 4 a day. 2023 is the year that I get my shit together just to go to Paris, drink it all away. That wine is going to bring back every beer, belly, stomach, all the fat, all the food there. I'm going to just die in Paris. It's going to be so bad.
When are we getting Dust2.us Ryan friend workouts?
Are we gonna get those streamed? Honestly, we'll
Content.
see. Content. I feel it's a lot of content. Not for me. Not the time. Not the time. Okay, let's talk about conference. So it's gonna be between ATK, Noun, and MIBR. ATK get a bye in the first round, and I was talking with ESEA, ESL to try and figure out like why did ATK get the bye when they never actually won the league. Because in ECL 41, Pain won it and then had to vacate it because they went back to Brazil. So then ATK, which were runners up, they earned the seed, the slot. And then in year 2, they won it. Nouns got second. So because ATK already got the spot, Nouns then got the second spot. And then in 42 and then 43, MIBR finally won it. So because the amount of like points, like essentially ATK got second and then first, they got the bye. And then Nouns got third because they never technically won the league. So MIBR got the second seed. So what needs to happen is ATK only needs to win one game and they make top 2, which means that they get to make it to Pro League. So it doesn't really matter. They just need to win one. And that means that if they lose their first game, they go into the consolation. And then if they win that, they're top 2. ATK Nouns, they have to win 2 games no matter what. So it's a little bit complicated there for everything. But it's what's happening, and I'm trying to figure and understand it and deal with it. I wrote a beautiful long article because I had too much time on my hands. But basically, none of the teams that when they got their seedings have the same roster today.
Yeah.
Nouns have a completely different roster. Jazz Pimp and
Jazz Pimp, Sexy, and George.
They're all gone. You have ATK parted ways with MOTM, but MOTM is now back in place of Fady, and they also had to pick up DJ to replace MOTM. Fady is out because he's having surgery, which, best of luck to him. Hope everything goes well. And for MIBR, they lost JOTA just a week ago, and they're picking up their academy graduate, Insani, as the replacement. So all 3 teams that are going to Pro League are not going to have the same roster as when they got their seeding, which I found funny and I found interesting to see how many roster changes happen. What do we think about the conference changes, and what do we think about the chances for the teams here?
I think the Nouns one, like you were making the point there, is probably the most egregious one because it's not even like they have the same core. The other 2 teams have the same core of 3 players. There's only 2 left. Like obviously it's 2 no faults of their own, but like it's like a completely different team. Like if this was a major, they don't get their legend spot or their challenger spot because they don't have a core.
Right. They just transferred cores over and over again, so it's fine somehow. Yeah.
I also found it very funny. Shout out to Daniel, our fantastic social media manager, who tweeted out on his personal earlier about the conference. the Spanish slot in the EU conference was won by a Brazilian team who went over to Europe.
Yes, because guess who they're owned by?
Casemiro.
So yeah,
Idiot
so
for getting suspended tonight. But yeah, I found that very funny. If I think they're playing Partizan right now.
I don't know.
I
Right
think
now,
it's gone to map 3. They're about to lose.
tough.
There was a chance that we could have seen another
That would have been hilarious. It is. It is 14-8. But and that is on that's the lower bracket round 2. So who did they lose to before? They lost to Endpoint. They lost 2-0 to Endpoint. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't understand KC Sports. I'm gonna RCF, Honda, Yeps, Steel, Leo, DRK. Besides Yeps, I know all of those players, and I like all of those players. I think all of them are very solid players. I don't know how Leo DRK put up a 0.39 in that 2-0 drubbing. This was a guy that was thought to be one of the better players to come out of South America. What the upsetting. Incredibly upsetting. At least RCF, the NA golden child, is doing well.
Endpoint do look nice though.
I don't care for Endpoint.
Back to the NA conference. I think it's very stupid that there's only 3 teams there. Like, I don't fully understand how the conference changed. I think it is just stupid. Like, even just invite
they should have 6. They should do. Yeah, do the points totals for each one, the best rankings. Winners automatically get a bid, and everyone that's in the second places, if they get second place, they could get to go. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like EG Black, they could be in there. I don't, but actually they couldn't. If they go to
Pro League, yeah,
they couldn't. But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
we should have these teams. We should try and expand it. I don't think that's too crazy.
Invite Mythic.
No, we'll just beg to stream it the whole time. But yeah, so I think honestly, ATK should come away with this. They've been the stronger team. They have more of the same roster. I think there was an upgrade with DJ over MOTM. I think FaZe's presence might be hurt, but I think with MOTM knowing it and him not really be so much of as a stand-in, but so much of a player that's been there, I think they'll be okay. What's troubling is that the longest concurrent roster out of these teams is Nouns, who made their last change on December 9th. So that's the longest standing team. And because of that, I actually think that they have the second best chances. I have very little faith in MIBR.
Yeah, I don't know. See, like with the HK one, I'm kind of interested to see where do they put MOTM in, because DJ took MOTM's roles. Does he get his own roles back? Right. Are you pushing DJ out? Like who's being pushed out of place here? Yeah, how's that going to work? MIBR, I don't know. Like, I think they let me down at the RMR. They've obviously made changes since then, but they did well to win ECL, and that's like the last time we've seen them. So like, it's the same problem again. Which teams are coming out here? Like, how well has Insani settled? Like, he could have been practicing with them for a while, because like they knew JOTA's been gone for a bit,
right?
So like they could have been doing things behind the scenes that we haven't seen, and like practicing pretty well over the break. I'm not super high on the Nouns team, since like obviously they lost George, who was huge for them. Sexy was pretty solid. Like I'm kind of interested to see how they get on with this. That's probably, and like we're gonna see that first indication in what, like 3 hours.
Yeah.
It'll be
interesting to see what happens.
I think it'll be a close one. Based on like how long the rosters have been together and how they've been managed to settle, I'd probably say it might be or take it, but it'll be a close game.
Yeah.
And then I think ATK probably do beat the winner of it, and then it's just a rematch in the lower bracket because there's only 3 fucking teams.
Yeah. What I think in the article, as I wrote it, what was really interesting was that not really all these teams have necessarily played themselves like too many times. MIBR and ATK played each other a few times. I think it was Nouns and ATK have played each other like so much.
They had the rivalry, but it's just different teams now.
Like, yeah, it's different teams, but it's been like they've played each other consistently. And then I think only Nouns and MIBR play each other once. So like, don't really know where to extrapolate. Yeah, how am I supposed to extrapolate?
They probably practice quite a lot against each other, though.
Probably, no, absolutely. But I mean, it'll just be interesting. But I think having 2 additional teams into Pro League will overall be good. And it should be better.
Yeah, I'd love to see ATK have the chance to go over to Europe again. Like they seem to like really put in. They seem to be one of those teams that are very like, very structured. Like not the stereotypical like NA way of practice. Like they seem to like put a lot of like theory crafting and stuff into it. Even when I
Yeah.
talked to DJ for that interview, he was saying like it's a completely different ball game compared to like most of the other NA teams with the amount of effort and the amount of work that they put in behind the scenes. So it'll be good if they get to go to Europe for however many weeks, like being in Malta, like they get to go to other parts of Europe and do boot camps and stuff. It'll be huge for them.
Oh yeah. No,
So hopefully
absolutely.
they do get it.
All right. Um, the ATK roster changes. Well, yeah, the
This was
Fady.
the
This
yeah.
is the Fady thing. Okay, so we can run by this one quick. For anyone that doesn't know, there's a surgery that basically Fady is going to have to head back down to South Africa. So he has to go all the way back home. He can't be here. So because of that, that's why we're having the issues. And that's why MOTM is coming back. DJ staying in there. It's pretty much going to be the same. It's just that's the fun stuff.
I think it's pretty interesting to note like the way that Ian left ATK in the first place was like him saying that he's kind of like blindsided. It came across as like not the most amicable of partings, and now he's
Well,
come back
no.
twice.
He came
Like,
back he helped finish out some obligations.
yeah,
He did Mustache Masters. I think he did another thing after that.
did he finish ECL with him?
I think he did. And then after that, yeah. So
Yeah, it's just interesting like the way that it kind of went down because most of the time like the players kicked and it's not like they're leaving. It won't be on like the best terms, and like from the tweet, it didn't seem like the best terms, and now he is helping them out again. So clearly, it's like um there's a bit of like respect still there with the two parties. So it's good to see that it's not like burnt bridges or anything. That they'd be left scrambling
yeah,
for another player. So
yeah, no, absolutely. All right, moving down the Flom Cup rundown. We have some few things there. Number one, Strife won it. Like, congrats to
great.
them. I mean, did it seem like? I mean, I don't want to be mean here, but it didn't seem like so much of a super important cup overall. It's just one of the only few things that we had
Yeah.
to happen. So there's obviously that. EG Junior I think is the bigger story here.
That's a
So
big talking point, yeah.
let's dive into that one. EG Black needs Junior. Wiz, in the interview that Vorborg did, he said that Wiz is going to be the opper for the foreseeable future. How do we feel about that choice, and how do we think about Junior as a potential replacement?
Yeah, it's funny because like all the focus has been on the EG main team for obvious reasons. They're the main team. And like you looked at on the HLTV page after Cirque was gone, like they were missing one, and I was like, oh, I wonder who are they going to call up to replace him? Like, is it going to be Pwn or is it going to be Wiz? And then they called up Wiz officially, and then I looked at the EG Black. I was looking at stats in there, and I was like, oh yeah, they're missing an opera now. They're going to need to go out and get someone. Who else is left in NA? And I think Junior is the obvious option. Like he's on the
Yeah.
bench, he still wants to play. He seemed nice on the EG team. Like I'm pretty sure he put up pretty good stats in the two games that they
Yeah,
played.
he did fine. They did go out a little bit early, which was sad, but I would have liked
Yeah,
to see more in terms of competition. They probably will just keep trialing him on EG Black, maybe in the upcoming season.
it
That would
is
make a
two
ton of sense.
changes. It is two changes. It's George coming in and Junior coming in. So I guess like how much time do they realistically get to play together before that?
Yeah.
So it's not too like if that was like the other EG Black with like Wiz and like before they got George in, then it would be very concerning if they're losing in the
Yeah.
semifinals of a Flom Cup.
Well, what's super interesting is how well that they seem to like George. Like EG seems to love George. From everything that I've heard, they're like, this kid is like one of the better players that they've gone against. Which, if knowing history in NA, to have a kid who like George to be like, hey, this guy actually he's on going to be on EG now, and he's probably who maybe if Hex doesn't perform, they call up George. Maybe if Breeze starts to underperform, they call up George. Like his elevation up to this level is kind of amazing to see. It's awesome.
His coming out party really was that Armor performance when he was like
Oh
one of
my
the
god,
highest
yeah.
rated. Because like shout out to Prof from HLTV. He did the interview with Tempest, I believe it was,
Yeah.
and I was like sitting on the couch just listening to them do the interview. And he asked the question about George, and I like sat up in my chair. I was like, oh, I want to hear this now. And he was like, he called him like the NA Roth, and I was like, that's a big statement to make because like even in terms of playstyle, the way he lurks, and apparently
Yeah.
he watches a lot of Roth.
Yeah.
That's why he said it to him. He's like, he looks up to him. He watches his demos. He like tries to like study how he plays. Like that's a pretty good player to look up to as well. And if you're able to be compared to him by like a person like Sempus who really doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to this game, like that's a pretty good sign for the future.
Yeah.
I think he does have the, and that's the thing is, there's a lot of potential being thrown around. I think he might have the highest potential for the next kind of like superstar that we have because we haven't had one in a while. Like Free, probably our last big superstar when he was popping off with energy before COVID.
I mean, Floppy's kind of been
I,
the next big superstar post that, but and same with Grim, but
I was about to say hot take, Grim.
I mean, no, he was after the 100 against MIBR or fucking whatever. Like he was looked at and everyone was like, he's the best player ever. It's been interesting.
Even interesting to note, like HOTV put up a post on Twitter. I think it was like the most improved players on LAN. Grim was the second most improved player on LAN from like his time in Liquid, and he really does like look like a star with complexity.
He's coming. His time is coming.
Yeah.
I fully like. I'm very high on this complexity roster. I think that they spent last year kind of as a consistently top 20 team in the world. I think we should expect them to be a top, like in now in between the top 20, top 15, like kind of breaking towards that edge, getting towards the 11th, the 14th. You know, that I think is realistically where the potential of this team is. And I think if they don't make it, then they're going to end up making changes, and they have to. I don't know what the changes are. I don't know who they can get. I don't know who will be a good response for it. But like, that just might be the situation at this point. Who knows?
Quickly on the topic of Junior, if say he does go to EG Black and we see him kind of settle in and he becomes that Junior that we knew from the Bad News Bears, like
Yeah.
before he got picked up by Furia, do you think if Wiz doesn't work out, they call him up?
No,
Do you think? Really?
I
Do
don't think so.
you think they go European then? Because like
I think they need Junior to spend enough time getting himself back. He
yeah,
needs time to get back into being that successful player. He's
that's what I
had
mean. Yeah, because they got
yes,
to give Wiz time. Like they're gonna give
yes, they
Wiz
need to
like
give West time, and they're going to need to give, but they need to give Junior time, and I think that's the problem. I think they might, but what I think that they might do is they should honestly, after that point, look at someone like Nantu. They need to then import. I
just
don't see another opper. Wiz is the next best thing in opping in NA. And if Wiz is not going to be able to crack it, I don't think that Junior is going to be ready. I don't think it's going to take just one season of ECL for him to get ready to go back up as a pro team.
oh yeah,
I think that he's faced criticism after criticism. I think his mental has been attacked too much. I think that he's been in a very unfortunate situation, and I think he just needs to get back to basics and stun and basically crush it like he used to. If he can do that, then we're going to start to see a Junior Revolt where then him going up to the EG main team is a possibility. But that I think is a longer road, and I think we're talking about at least 6 to 7 months before
oh
we
yeah,
can even entertain that possibility.
yeah. I think it's a shame that they never gave Owen the chance. I feel like if they didn't replace Cirque with him even for a couple of tournaments, he's never gonna get the chance. It's a shame.
Yeah, you know, I that's the other option, right? What if Pone is the next one? Which I think Maui put out a tweet at like 7 in the morning, which I think he's in London. So to be fair, it's his normal time. But Maui put out a tweet and it was like they should just have Pone alone be there. Which honestly, not a bad idea. Pone alone, let him cook. Let him cook.
If you just take away the age and the name and watch Pone alone play, absolutely should have been the option.
You'd think he's great. You would think he's great.
Yeah.
That is unfortunately going to be the biggest what if in NA CSGO history is Pone alone never getting a shot. It's going to be so sad.
Just be born sooner, Pone.
No, born later. He had to be born later. He's 32. The man is 32.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Born sooner to now.
Oh, well, you mean later. Okay. Anyways, other things in the Flom Cup rundown. Davenport has a new look roster. Switcher gone.
Such a shame.
That was tough. That's a tough one.
Such a shame.
You know,
came in. Losing Kojimo, like.
Well, Kojimo, I think was kind of like this was an overhauling decision that Davenport made, and Kojimo, I guess they have just decided he's not the one for the future. Having Spec still in there, great one, great guy. Spec has obviously been dominant, and he continues to be a stellar player for Davenport. Honestly, if I was EG again, I'd start looking at him as another rifler to potentially bring on as a full-time player. Like, I think if you're looking at identifying talent, this is a player that's someone that they would want to do. I'm serious.
Just sign a 5th team already.
But you know what I mean. Like, if eventually if like Rush or Stanislaw are just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe I want to try my hand in Europe. Maybe I want to try and fund a new pro team, or I can find a project and compete in things. Spec is a player that could probably slide into this team. Like, I think that there's enough young players on this Davenport squad that I'd look at and be like, they might be ones for the future.
Yeah.
And then finally, Jason R returns.
Your bestie.
My bestie? What do you mean, my bestie? What do you mean?
I feel like I've seen you tweet about it.
I don't think I've. I think I have. No, I probably have. I probably have. No, I think I definitely have. I think I've definitely tweeted about him. But, like, you know, it's whatever.
It was one of the biggest losses that we had to Valorant, I think. Like, he does have a very good mind for the game. He's one of those people that was always like putting out content for players. Like, I used to watch it.
Okay. Oh.
No, like, you know those content of like how to like take these sides, how to like actually IGL and like call around it. Like, his YouTube channel was good for it. And like, so the thing is, we have like nades out here now and that kind of stuff. What? Were you watching CS videos like that? Be real.
No! I was not watching Jason R videos.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he did have good content around the game. And like, he did have a decent mind for the game. So, because that's the thing, that was the problem with, there has been enough tweets about it where we've said there's not enough like leaders in the scene that are gonna like put out content, try and take players and like actually show them how to play the game. So he was a loss in that sense. He's played on big teams. He has experience. He's played at a major.
Not doing this with you. I'm literally not doing this with you.
Because you know you're wrong.
I'm not doing this with you. I can't do this with you. I don't want to hurt your feelings.
You know you're wrong. That's the problem. You won't admit when you're wrong.
I'm leaving this so that I can be nice to you and look at you tomorrow. Anyways, let's take it finally. JOTA to Imperial. Lot of comments and a lot of questions I think now coming out about this MIBR roster. The problem here is that you lost Cello, you lose JOTA. Those are your those two were incredible on MIBR together. Now they're on Imperial. Imperial now has Zach, great coach, great mind for the game. You have Fallen, who is finally in his last year. Like, this is it. It's all over, baby. There is nothing more for this guy. It's done. So he's going to give his all. He's going to try his best. Vinny, who I still think is an incredibly solid player, should be very highly sought after. Bolt, Cello, and JOTA. That's a squad. I think you had to get. I think you had to move past Fur, and I think you had to get an actual real coach. Peacemaker, tough luck on the loss there for him. Coming out in the beginning, he didn't even show up to the RMR. He had surgery. It was awful. But like, this now looks like an Imperial team that wants to win, whereas before it looked like it was created for content.
Oh yeah, that was more a marketing opportunity than an actual competitive team.
But it's just weird now that you like blow a year. And then you're like, oh, maybe let's actually make the competitive team. Like, well, I don't know what were they trying to plan there.
I think the thing with Fur was like he wasn't even a liability on the team. It was just, you could just tell he didn't want to be there. Like, when you're talking about retiring mid-tournament after you qualified for a major, it's a bit like, I really want out of this roster, and it's not a good sign for your team in general. Like, I don't know. I think in terms of mentality and personality, like, it is a much better move. In terms of like actually like talent, like, Fur probably isn't your biggest issue. JOTA is definitely going to add a lot. I think Cello is so banger. Like, he's so good.
He's so annoyingly good.
They're very close to actually being like competitive.
I think it's like a top 20 team. I think it's easily a top 20 team once they hit their stride.
I think it's easily top 30. I think it's a bit of a question mark. They'll probably float around like the 20s for a bit until they get settled. Yeah, I don't know where
Fair.
you go. Like, I don't think Bolt is like the greatest. I don't. I think Vinny was probably the worst player on Furia, which is obviously like when he came into Imperial, it was literally just the opportunity. He was on his way out of Furia. It wasn't like I think if he was doing better on Furia, he probably wouldn't have gone to this. It was just Furia were at like a stagnate at the time, and they were like, okay, Vinny has to go. But yeah, I don't know where the next upgrade is. Is the next upgrade just like fully dismantling the initial last stands?
I mean,
Like,
well, no, the next upgrade is that you're getting rid of Fallen. You're making you have those guys. You have one of those guys pick up the IGL role, and then you go sign NQZ.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yes, that is it.
That's the move. That's the move.
No, Fury are gonna
NQZ
get
is the
Fury gonna
shit.
get to NQZ first, I think. If NQZ gets settled at tier 1, the Fury, everyone in Brazil should be fighting for him.
Oh my god, he's the next best.
Yeah.
He's 17 years old, and he's going to be insane. We talked about it on the last pod, and it was getting weird. I didn't like the 0-0 Nation 9Z move. It felt super lateral to me. It didn't feel like there was a lot of upside for either one of those guys, and that's where I'm just like, I don't know. I still think like if Imperial, if they make a hot offer, like I can see Fallen moving on, and I can see NQZ being the replacement there, and it'd be so good. It'd be so good. They're so close. They're so close to this, and I think it would be interesting overall. All right, you're gonna you've got Katowice next week. When do you fly out next week?
2 weeks, like
2
12
weeks.
days. 12 days, the 30th. Plan starts the 31st.
Okay, so plan starts the 31st. We've got our teams in there.
Yeah, we have quite a few NA teams there for the plan, I believe.
It's gonna be good. Is there anything that you've been excited about this week and last week that you feel confident about with anything about Katowice, anything about Blast, anything going on with you?
It's just good to be back with CS. Like the breaks always feel so much longer than they actually are realistically.
Yeah.
Like it's not been that long, but I think everyone's just itching for it to start back again. And
Yeah.
what time does it start at tomorrow?
Tomorrow it starts at it starts
early,
for us and me. It starts at 9. I've got to do a workout. I've got to go eat dinner, and then I've got to cover the game because trying to make sure we do more stuff this year that covers the big and day by day important matches.
2:00, yeah. 2:00 waking up to heroic, absolutely battering EG. I'm calling it.
I think 9 a.m. for me. Yeah, it's 9 a.m. So I'm covering both of those. So I'm gonna be up late and up early, getting that coverage. But it'll be interesting. It'll be good, and hopefully we get some good stuff to come out of it. All right.
Good to be back.
Good to be back. Good to be back. All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow on dust2.us. Make sure to follow at SleboCS. Follow Ryan at Dust2. You can get this podcast on all podcast forums and on YouTube, where you can see our beautiful faces once again. With that, I'm going to wish all of you guys a wonderful night. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.